When I think of a console, my mind immediately shifts to Nintendo. It's just a natural thing. It would be a top answer in Family Feud. So when Nintendo fucks up, you can really feel that shit in your inner being. As a juggernaut and the forefather of the industry, we gaming connoisseurs expect perfection from almost any new Nintendo product, except the Virtual Boy, because the only thing you can expect from that thing is either a migraine or a seizure. But yes, with every new generation, the hopes are high for any new Nintendo innovation, because it is freaking Nintendo. While Nintendo has enjoyed huge success with their consoles and games, Nintendo certainly has failed throughout the generations, and when Nintendo flunks and fails, they fail hardcore. And boy did they fail with the Wii U, because looking at those numbers ain't pretty. Wait, you're telling me that the original Xbox sold double the amount of units as the Wii U did? Yikes, have some fucking shame. Failure isn't unknown to Nintendo. N64 and GameCube come to mind when I think of failed Nintendo systems, but those are still legendary consoles with amazing game libraries and are well remembered by the masses. And you know, people actually care about them. Both of those consoles were heavily outclassed by their rivals, Sony and the PlayStation, but they still have that something which people remember them by. N64 had a weird Triton thing controller and some of the best games of all time. GameCube was a cutesy QB console with an amazing controller, and this and some damn good games. So now, who cares about the Wii except Scott the Woz? Like, who really gives a shit about this console? No one. But how did the Wii U gain its infamous reputation? Well, for that we have to go all the way back to the 2000s. After a disappointing generation with the GameCube, Nintendo knew they had to do something different than their competitors. For the last two generations, they've been eating Sony's dust, and their systems have been heavily outclassed by the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2 in dominant fashion. Nintendo had a monopoly on the handheld industry. That was their bread and butter, but they were struggling with the competition on the home console turf ever since the N64 drop. For two generations now, they sold 3 times less the amount of units than the PlayStation competitor, with N64 selling 32 million and the GameCube selling 22 million, the all-time lowest amount of units sold by any Nintendo system at that time. Going from generation to generation, the numbers decreased significantly. Nintendo wasn't a dominant force anymore like in their glory days of the NES and the SNES, and they knew that their next console had to again put pride on the Nintendo brand. And under the codename Project Revolution in the winter of 2006, the Nintendo Wii was released. The Wii was a tremendous success and was at the time Nintendo's best-selling console, with over 100 million units sold. The Wii was a pioneer of motion sensory in gaming. The console was something we never saw before at that time. It was a breath of fresh air and vastly different than its competitors. It succeeded because it was the budget console that appealed a lot to casual audiences because of its motion sensory gimmick. Fuck a controller, how about you be the fucking controller? It was the family console anybody could have played on, even your demented grandpa could hop on and play some Just Dance. While the PS3 and Xbox 360 were mainly the choice for people looking to have the standard gaming experience, the Wii was made for everyone to play. Grandpas, kids, parents, anyone could sit down and turn on the Wii, and pair that with some damn good first-party support and okay third-party support, even the Nintendo fans were pleased. The casual audiences and the Nintendo fans drooled over the console because of its easy accessibility, cheap price, controls, and the GameCube game support. Nintendo hit the gold mine with the Wii, and they cannot possibly fuck this up. Well, they did. Wii U or Project Cafe was in development since 2008. I truly think that Wii's huge success hindered the Wii U heavily. Nintendo wanted to keep it safe and not innovate too much. Their main goal was to upgrade the console on a level where the audience they didn't have with the Wii, aka your typical gamers, would jump ship and turn to the Wii U. Their goal was also to change the console just a touch so it felt like a new piece of hardware and not an upgrade to the Wii. During Wii U's development, Miyamoto stated his desire for a small screen on a controller to provide messages for the user, similar to the Dreamcast controller screen. I mean, if you're really gonna have the Dreamcast as your inspiration, then it isn't a big surprise that your console sold like the Dreamcast. This idea later gave birth to the Wii U gamepad. Ah yes, the Wii U gamepad, the brand new Nintendo innovation. The Wii U gamepad is an interesting piece of hardware to say the least. It acts both as a controller, as a secondary screen, or the primary screen. You can use it to control what's on the TV, or if you're cheap enough and don't have a TV, you can play games on it. Great, so I can play on it or play with it. That sounds awesome, and there is nothing that can ruin this as a good Nintendo gimmick, and it would be a total shame that you could only use this thing for 4 hours. Oh shit, wait. Yes, 4 hours, that's how long you can use it. The Wii U gamepad lasts shorter than I do in bed. The abysmal battery life puts this thing into the ground. But no worries, if you wanna, play games for longer than 4 hours, you can buy the brand new Wii U Pro controller for $50, and it's gonna last you 20 times longer than your gamepad. The gamepad had literal potatoes for batteries. You had to charge this thing every other freaking minute. You could spend $50 for an actual controller, but if you thought you can play Wii games with it, well, you can just fuck off. You could also use so many controllers with the Wii U for like no reason. You could use the Wii U gamepad, the Wii Remote Plus, the nunchuck, the balance board, Nintendo Classic controller, Wii U Pro controller, and finally the Nintendo GameCube controller. But you need to buy a USB adapter accessory for it if you want to use it, plus it's like only supported by Super Smash Bros, but I'm counting. The Wii U also heavily relied on Wi-Fi, and you couldn't take the gamepad 20 feet away from the console or it would just not work. The console can work without a gamepad, and the gamepad can't work without the console. So if your gamepad broke by any chance, you were boned, because you couldn't use the Wii U without it, and Nintendo didn't sell gamepads as controllers for some fucking reason. You could also only use one gamepad at all times, which in some situations can be a nuisance. The Wii also couldn't at all compete graphically with its competitors, the Xbox One and the PS4, when they were released in 2013, which wasn't a surprise taking into consideration that the Wii wasn't graphically gifted as well, but it certainly hurt the third-party support for the console. So now that we went over all the gimmicks of the Wii U, how was its release? The Wii U hit the shelves in late 2012 as the first console of the 8th generation. Upon release, the Wii U was cheap, and it was the cheapest 8th gen console by far, but I think that many upon release were disappointed with the Wii U. It felt too much like its predecessor, the Wii, which was very unlike Nintendo, who are known for innovating and changing shit every generation. The Wii U, with its marketing and even its name, felt too similar to the Wii, and some people didn't even know that the Wii was a brand new console. They just thought it was a tablet add-on for the Wii. And who can really blame them? If you take away the gamepad, that's what you get, an HD Wii. The similarity with the previous console really hit the Wii U hard, and that can be seen well on the sales. The casual audience that drooled over the Wii saw no need for an upgrade to the Wii U, and the Wii was pretty much left only for the hardcore Nintendo fans to buy. The Wii U's poor launch lineup of games didn't help it much at all. Upon release, you were greeted with titles such as Sync Party, Funky Barn, and of course, Wipeout 3. But you genuinely had some solid to good games as well. Assassin's Creed 3, Darksiders 2, Batman Arkham City, Black Ops 2, Scribblenauts, Unlimited, and Mass Effect 3, just to name a few, but they were a minority in the big pool of FIFA, other sports games, and shovelware titles. But what I think disappointed people the most was the same problem the GameCube had. No console-defining Super Mario title on launch. New Super Mario Bros. U was the Nintendo launch title for the Wii U. While the new Super Mario Bros. U isn't a bad game on its own, it's fine, but I think that it plays the role of a Super Mario launch title pretty poorly. It's the fourth new Super Mario Bros. Game in the series. That being said, Nintendo said they took 3 years making the game, which I doubt heavily, but in that time spent, they surely could have given us a 3D Mario game that truly showed the powers of the console. New Super Mario Bros. U doesn't change much from its predecessor. It brings one new power-up, a couple of game modes, and a barely noticeable graphical improvement. It's pretty much new Super Mario Bros. For the Wii, but only being HD, and for the Wii U, with some minimal changes here or there. I think this is truly the tipping point where the new Super Mario Bros. Series became really stale, and it felt more like a money grab than a passionate Nintendo project. While it was nice getting a new 2D Mario game at the beginning, they really beat a dead horse with it. While the game isn't bad, it doesn't show that well how much the Wii U gamepad can be used, and in the end was one of the most underwhelming Mario titles in recent times. It still didn't stop it from selling 5 million copies and being one of the console's best-selling titles, but it was far from what we expected. Also, a couple of months later, a DLC would be released labeled New Super Luigi U, where you could now play as Luigi. Absolutely revolutionary. But a console isn't only determined by the launch. An important part of console's success, or doom, is its gaming library. Nintendo system gaming libraries are some of the best. N64 and GameCube come to mind as consoles with legendary titles, and pretty much every Nintendo console is a home to amazing game franchises. But how did the Wii U's gaming library stack? Well, the Wii U depended heavily on its first-party support, although in the early days of the console, the third-party support was actually pretty solid. Capcom had a couple of games, as did Ubisoft. Sony games were fucking trash, but they were at least there. Lego games were fairly common. Lego City Undercover provided a nice, fun GTA experience and became the best-selling third-party game on the console. Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed found a home on the console at the beginning, but as time went on, the Wii U sold worse and worse, and Ubisoft pulled the plug and released only Just Dance till the end of the console's life. The original Wii had good third-party support, even though the companies didn't enjoy making their games for the Wii, but the Wii was just such a success that they simply had to. But with the Wii U, that wasn't the case. There was no more need in making Wii U ports, because the sales were never going to be as good as on PC, the PS4, or the Xbox One, and the third-party support diminished as the console entered its third year. Not even EA nor 2K wanted to support the console with sports games. In the end, only 118 third-party games found its place on the Wii U, which is a pitifully small number and the lowest number of third-party games for any Nintendo system of all time. The lack of third-party games hit the Wii U hard, and the Wii U was only left to Nintendo fans to buy. Now, what about the first-party support? Well, in over 6 months after the console's release, the second Nintendo title was born in the form of Game & Wario. If I recall, many people didn't rate this game highly at release. I know it's in the downer echelon of WarioWare titles, but it's also a spin-off, so it's kinda weird to rank it. But that wasn't the only big Nintendo summer release in 2013, because in August, after almost a decade of waiting, we got a brand new Pikmin title. One of the most underrated gaming franchises hit the store shelves after 9 years in the form of Pikmin 3, and boy, did it look great. The game was a graphical masterpiece and still one of the best looking Wii U games. Upon its release, it was highly praised for its graphics and game design, and it quickly became the best selling title in the franchise. Pikmin 3 was a great comeback for the series, and in some people's opinion, it's the best game in the franchise, and it's truly no wonder that it got a port to the Switch, which it fully deserved. In October, we got an HD version of Wind Waker ported on the console. This definitely means that the console is gonna have an original Zelda title in its lifetime. Yeah, the Wind Waker is a classic, and it aged already really well because of its art style. The game was always pretty in my opinion, and on the Wii U it got a good use of the touchpad serving as the map, inventory, and you could also aim with it. And then it came. The Mario title everyone was waiting. Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario 3D World offers a great experience on the console. The multiplayer is addictingly fun. It is a great multiplayer Mario title with a ton of levels and great music. It was truly 2D Mario at its best in the modern era. It was certainly a success, selling well over 5 million units and becoming the system's second best-selling game. Although it was a success commercially, sadly it wasn't what the Wii U needed. The Wii U needed a genre and franchise-defining 3D Mario title, and while Mario 3D World was a good and fun game, it wasn't what the console desperately was in need of. When you look at other Nintendo systems and their games, and especially the Mario games, and then glance over to the Wii U, it was clear that the Wii U was really lacking behind. 3D World was good, but it wasn't what Super Mario 64 was for the N64, or what Sunshine was for the GameCube. It didn't have the same effect. With 3D World, it seemed like Nintendo gave up on the Wii U, and in the end, that truly was the case. In early 2014, we got Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, a direct sequel to Country Returns, a great platformer that the console needed with great level design and music. And then, on May of 2014, the biggest game by far on the console was released, Mario Kart 8. Mario Kart 8 is one of the best racers out there and was a big success game that the Wii U was in desperate need of. Controls, tracks, music, gameplay, Mario Kart had it all, and it is really no wonder it sold so well. After Mario Kart 8, a lot of hits and a lot of flops came from Nintendo. We got Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta 1 and 2, and a brand new Smash title which added a bunch of new characters. A game that was better than Brawl, but still not as great as Melee. 2015 soon rolled around, which was primarily a floppy year for Nintendo. We got a new Kirby title which wasn't as great as its predecessor. We got Mario Party 10, which is one of the worst games in the series. This also marked the period where the Mario Party franchise was at its lowest. After that debacle, we got Splatoon, the newest Nintendo IP, a third-person Nintendo game shooter which became an instant success. After Splatoon, Mario Maker dropped, providing one of the most original and fun and also aggravating experiences on the console, a game where users could make and play player-constructed Mario levels. Yoshi's Woolly World dropped in fall, which got 7s all over the board. Amiibo Festival and Ultra Smash got released soon, and were an instant fireplace fuel, and later in the year, we got greeted with Xenoblade Chronicles X. In 2016, the console got Twilight Princess in HD, Pokken Tournament, a spin-off Pokemon fighting game, Star Fox Guard and Star Fox Zero got released too. Star Fox Zero is highly regarded as the weakest title in the Star Fox franchise, even surpassing Star Fox Command. Paper Mario Color Splash also dropped, another game which isn't as highly thought of in its own franchise, with being probably the weakest Paper Mario game on a home console. And then in 2017, in the console's last year, the best game the Wii U had dropped. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is an amazing open-world Zelda experience and is one of the best Zelda games. Scratch that, the best games of all time in my opinion. The game plays, looks, and feels great and is truly a modern-day masterpiece. And in my opinion, it's this generation's Majora Mask and Ocarina of Time. Even though Breath of the Wild was an amazing game, it came too late for the console. Breath of the Wild was in delay hell. The game was delayed a lot, and while that was in the end great for the game, it was awful news for the Wii U. In March of 2017, Nintendo Switch dropped, leaving Wii U completely behind in its shadows. 10 days after the Switch's release, Breath of the Wild dropped, and what would have been a great game for the Wii U became an excellent launch title for the Switch. This is pretty much the whole story of the Wii U, a console whose big releases and game experiences were almost all accessible on another Nintendo system. Almost every game I've just said was released or had in some cases a better alternative for the 3DS. Even today, you don't have a reason anymore to play Wii U's big titles on the Wii U, with them getting a big port to the Switch as deluxe versions. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, many of Wii U's games found their place again on the Switch and sold much better in some cases because of Switch being a better console. Wii U's first-party support was mixed. It certainly gave us great games and introduced us to Splatoon and Mario Maker, but it certainly had a bunch of disappointing titles, and some of the franchises have their worst games on the Wii U. But even though the Wii U was a failure, it is directly involved into the Nintendo Switch being a success. We definitely have to thank the Wii U for the Switch, because Nintendo turned every flaw the Wii U had and just turned it around and made it into the Switch's strength. We also can't forget about the Virtual Console, Amiibos, or Nintendo Directs, which were all a part of the Wii U's culture and became important for Nintendo as a company. At the time of this video, almost 10 years of Wii U's existence have passed, and in 2023 the shop is gonna be closed, and the Wii U as a console will be finally left to rest. The Wii U was the black sheep of Nintendo systems, never getting the love like the other consoles, and it is going to be remembered in history as Nintendo's biggest blunder. But it certainly did give us a plenty of good things as well, and it really was a special console in the end.